What's going on? Welcome to More Than Mortgage. I'm Chad Anderson. He's Zach Jones. Artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, Gemini, OpenAI, which is the same as Chat GPT, Siri, Apple Intelligence, which is probably, another acronym that Apple wishes they had because Apple Intelligence is AI. Siri's going off over here to the side. She thinks I'm talking to her already. So literally the phone starts lighting up. Oh, so AI, Chat GPT, all these things. How is it going to enter into our worlds of finance, real estate, mortgage, all these things? So, Zach, this is one that I'm going to hit on a lot this year because I think AI is something that you can try to ignore it, but it's not going away.
Right.
And resist. But to me, AI is going to be as commonly, if not more used than putting your credit card into the internet. And people used to resist that.
Right.
And here we are 25 years later, and we've talked about it. You're the crazy idiot if you don't have your credit card on the internet. Before, you were the crazy idiot for giving a website your information. Now you're crazy if you don't do it.
Right.
And I think AI is going to be the same. So, yeah, I know that this is more my topic, and I live in this world. I actually use Chat GPT. But that's Google's version. I haven't really tried Apple Intelligence. Those downloads and updates on the software were just recently available. So I haven't really dived into that. I think it's going to be something where I made this joke the other day with someone. You know how you have subscriptions to like Google and Apple and Microsoft and Dropbox, and you have Google Drive, which is Google, and then you have Verizon or AT&T, and you have iCloud, and you have OneDrive. I was joking. I think I probably have 9 terabytes of storage available on the internet through 5 different subscriptions.
Right. Which is a lot.
That is a ton of space and data. That doesn't even count the actual hardware computer I'm recording on.
Right.
That is just the cloud that you have. And so I really enjoy, all the different options and varieties of technology. I've tried to get more reliant on Chat GPT, which is a much better version of Google. And it can create things for you. It can solve problems for you. You can talk to it like it's a human.
Mhm.
Gemini and Apple, I haven't really been as impressed with as OpenAI, which Elon wants to buy, by the way, at this point. But if I want you to take off your mortgage hat for a second and be a consumer. If I walk up to you today and say, hey, I need you to apply, put your information in here. It's backed by Chat GPT or OpenAI, and I'll get you a loan approval, and it'll tell you what your interest rate's going to be, but you need to give it all your information. You have to give Chat GPT your legal name, your social, your bank account information, your payroll ID, if you have one on a third-party server. You have to give it all of these things. How would you feel about that if a loan officer came to you and said, you got to enter all that into this Chat GPT form?
For me personally, at this stage in the game,
give both answers.
I'm going to resist that. I'm going to resist it and say, is there another way we can do it?
Interesting. So you would actually resist.
Yeah.
And you're in the business. Yeah.
I would.
So if you're going to, it kind of opens up like, what is the rest of the world, or I guess really the country, but how is it going to be perceived? And then how do we overcome it? Because people don't like to hear this, but they don't really have a basis to argue it. Maybe Chat GPT or OpenAI or some variation doesn't take over real estate, because we've said before that realtors are really always necessary.
Right.
Loan officers are always necessary. And there are reasons, right? Like that BlackRock can't penetrate the real estate market the way they want to. And it's because consumers still want the local human in their market to eventually take care of them.
Right.
So at what point, or does it break, or does this never happen? Do we always need the human while Elon is over here building robots that are going to be in your home for $30,000 a pop? Like, I'm trying to understand and wrap my head. I don't have an answer. So I'm really more just kind of interviewing you today of where does this go? Like at what point does the comfort level get reached with all this technology?
I think there's multiple answers to that because I have been I'm typically so I'm like late Gen X or early Gen X, late boomer. I'm right on that cusp. And so I'm typically and I'm firmly Gen X. I don't identify with the boomers, but that's a different topic altogether. We can talk about that later.
Okay, boomer.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm typically a late adopter of
Okay.
technology, and the reason for that is that I kind of go by the old idea that you don't buy the first generation of a new automobile model because they really haven't worked the kinks out. Once a new model has been out maybe 4 or 5 years, or there's a tremendous new innovation, they've figured out what the problems are because they've got a much larger test group, and the engineers have gotten in there and found errors that they didn't find in the testing phase.
So you don't like my Cybertruck? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I think it's a really cool thing for you to have.
Thanks, Zach. Yeah. Sorry,
But
keep going.
so that I've already got a bias in adoption of technology, but I also understand that this AI thing, it's so pervasive in I don't all of this. So I've got lots of ideas coming around. It's so pervasive in our society. We're already seeing in the mortgage business. We've kind of had an AI model in automated underwriting for a long time. It's it was a rudimentary form of AI, but
Right.
you put all the data in and it spits out a decision. As long as you can meet the conditions of the decision, you get to close the loan. And then there's all of these nuances. You and I talked at length this morning about different situations where the machine can't catch it. The nuances are so subtle that you've got to have people out there who are experienced and have years and years of cumulative wisdom to make decisions about these nuanced pieces of material that come in a loan application. So we're never going to replace underwriters, but we're going to get better. And you and I have both seen AI models where we can search guidelines with AI questions, and those are readily available in our world. And I think about all the facial recognition technology that they have on street level cameras, where they can tell who's coming in and out of a building, and simultaneously. This is something that I just observed this weekend. I go to Costco on Saturday, and Costco has stripped down their self-checkout units to, if they had 30 before, they've got 9. And
Yeah.
they've reinstituted checkout lines. And I can promise you that's because of loss. People they're losing. This is loss prevention, because people aren't scanning their stuff in. So I also know from a story that a friend of mine told me about Costco coming after him a month after he checked out. He's a commercial reseller, and Costco contacted him a month after a checkout and questioned the number of items that he had on his cart. A month later.
Really?
A month later.
Wow.
Because of their loss prevention department and how thorough they are, and the way that they scan things, and the cameras that they have on everybody. So even a system like that, that's so sophisticated, Costco does so many things so well. They've decided that the self-checkout line is not something, even though it provides a great convenience for their 1 to 9 item customers that aren't filling a big old basket. They're not going down that road, at least in my local Costco in Franklin, Tennessee. So there's this testing phase that we keep going through with everything, where is AI going to be able to handle this particular function of this particular business? Well, let's try it. Sure, let's go out there. And they go full bore and say, oh, we're not ready for that yet. And there's a pullback. I believe we're going to get there. I was so excited, 5, 6, 7 years ago when people were talking about blockchain with our personal data and being able to utilize blockchain technology from a privacy perspective and be able to maintain privacy so that we can go out and scan a chip and get a mortgage, because all of our information is out there, but it's just not safe enough yet. So I think we're going to get there, but here's the problem. So let's go back to, or here's another problem. Let's go back to the whole Zillow thing. I was reading a post on social media this week where somebody had set up an appointment through Zillow to see a house with a Zillow agent. They show up at the house, knock on the door, and the people are in there, having Sunday lunch. Agent didn't show up. The only person that knew about it was the person that made the appointment and the Zillow system. The Zillow, but there wasn't another person that was involved in that. So they're knocking on a door for an appointment that was never actually formalized and nobody ever notified. So you got a Zillow agent who missed out on a showing appointment for a potential home sale. You've got a surprise seller, and you've got a very disappointed buyer. And that's kind of a great example that I thought of when you were talking, because unless you have universal adoption where everybody is working off of the same system and has awareness and has notifications and pays attention to their notifications, then human error is going to get in the way of the efficiency of technology to some degree. So there's a lot to be said about it. There's another road that I want to go down with it, but there's just so much to be said. We are hurtling down the road of AI, creating a lot of new pathways for us as a society.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to imagine the things that will be easier, better, cheaper, and what the limitations of AI when they run up against human frailties, shortcomings. It'll stop technology in its tracks.
The biggest question we're going to have is when this AI stuff takes place, and it will. Like, if you're a denier, look, it's going to continue to evolve. It is not going anywhere. Elon Musk does not offer to buy OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, for $97.4 billion because he thinks it's going to be a flop or it's a short-term flip. He sees it as the $1 trillion company. Like, he sees it as the massive. And Elon may go try to create his own, since he couldn't buy the one he wanted. And who knows half the time if he's serious about it or not, or just throwing something out there. But at the same time, here's the concern I have with AI and in the real estate and the mortgage industry. It's not that you're going to be out of a job. I don't think that in real estate, the job gets replaced, because mortgages and real estate are so complicated that I think people are going to still want questions answered by humans. We've had little chat bots and help bubbles and little icons on websites for years, and nobody wants to read the article. Nobody wants to read the FAQs. Nobody, you know what I mean? You don't want to do that. You want an instant answer, and a lot of times your answer doesn't get answered. And so you then are looking for the next thing, or yelling representative into the phone because the computer didn't tell you what you wanted. So I think there will still be a need. But what I am concerned is all of a sudden the job gets stripped down and the revenue gets stripped down. It's more revenue disruption than job disruption. And maybe they're the same, but I just mean it's not forcing unemployment, but it is forcing a reset on your income. And that's where I would say people should be most concerned or alarmed. Is you got to think about it. We make this joke all the time. Zach and I don't do open heart surgery. Okay. What we do is collect documents based on a checklist that is given to us by a rudimentary, as Zach put it, AI system called an automated underwriting system, AUS. And then when we stack those documents, we're scanning and looking for certain things, such as large deposits or garnishments, or you don't work 40 hours a week, but you said you do, or something is expired, or something just doesn't match up with your application. That's all we're looking for. We just have a lot of experience, and we're detailed people. We're good at our jobs, and we're able to know what we're looking for. But essentially, we are doc collectors, and we are strategy people, strategy experts.
Puzzle solvers. We
Right.
solve puzzles. We're
Solvers.
putting pieces of a puzzle together. Yeah.
Problem solvers. And some puzzles are 20 pieces, ages 3 and under, and that's your conventional loan with 800 credit, W-2, and 40% down. Others are 1,000-piece puzzle, and that's, you know, your lower credit, self-employed, gift funds, manual underwrite. And that's what we do for a living. So to me, the AI can invade and disrupt to a deeper extent our job, but I don't think it can replace. I think it can do the same thing to realtors. I think it can do the same thing to title companies. There is already a product that we have. It's called HELOC Express. That thing can close in 5 days, or I'm sorry, fund in 5 days. It's all
for a home equity loan. For a home equity
line of credit.
Yeah.
It's all AI generated. The whole thing is AI. And people ask me questions, and I say, well, I don't know, because I don't know why AI denied you. I just know that it gave this answer and that was it. Oh, you got denied somewhere else? You should try the AI machine because it may work. And it does. We've had 2 or 3 people with that happen. And the good is it happens just like that. And there are investors willing to lend their money based on an AI decision. There's also the bad of that, which is I can't talk to the machine. So if you don't qualify, you don't qualify.
You can't argue a value with an AI algorithm, right?
Correct.
My house is worth more than that. I need $10,000 more on my HELOC.
Yeah.
No,
I make more money than that. My house is worth more than that. Well, no, you don't understand that. It doesn't matter. It's AI. But that's the infant stage. That's just the beginning, is the point. I make money on that deal. I don't make near the same amount of money as you would. I basically make about 40% as to what I would otherwise. So that's where the question comes into play. And it's open-ended. This is just for discussion as we wrap it up. But those are my, I want to revisit this episode in 6 months or a year. So maybe mark our calendars and come back to it and see how it's evolved. Because the question is the consumer okay with it? You know, what are you okay in doing? When I take a HELOC application, I don't tell them it's AI. I'd say, I just need your name. I don't even need your social. That's how crazy it is. I just need your name, your date of birth, your email, your phone number, and your address, and how much you make. Those 6 items. You put them in the computer, it tells you what you get. And that's crazy. But 1, will consumers trust it? 2, how are mortgage people disrupted? 3, how are agents disrupted? And then you could go to all sectors. You know, you could go to appraisers, title companies, insurance companies, and so forth. But I'm just really curious to see, because Chat GPT, I use it all the time. It literally builds spreadsheets for me. It creates graphics for me. It writes scripts for me for social media. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we'll see. But I'm curious. Any final thought on all that?
Excuse me.
Don't choke up on it.
You know, I was kind of thinking as you were talking, because with this HELOC model, excuse me, these automated underwriting models, maybe AI now is the dollar store version. You know, it's a little bit clunky. It's fast, but it doesn't really give great values, and it's you know, there's errors in it, and you can't argue with it, and you can't appeal it. It's pretty set in stone. But ultimately, you know, does it emerge from the dollar store version of, you know, our business interaction and become the Neiman Marcus version, you know, ultimately in the future? Still, you got to have somebody working that floor, and you still got to have somebody putting stock on the shelves. Whether you're at the dollar store or you're at Neiman Marcus, it's not going to eliminate people altogether. But it'd be interesting to see where the limits of a machine interfacing into a human society. That's really the question. What are the limits of a machine interfacing with a human society without taking over the human society part? That's the
Yeah, that's a key component. I want everybody to end on this thought. Okay, two business sectors, and I'm sure there's many more, but these immediately come to mind. Okay, we went from horse and buggy to Ford Model T to taxis, meaning you get in a car with a stranger and pay them to take you somewhere, to Uber, where your phone brings a stranger in their car, and anybody could have signed up for Uber, and all they have is a sticker and a background check on Uber. And that's kind of how that progression went, right? Like we went from horse and buggies to you're getting in cars with strangers.
You need to
And
get with the program because you can get into a self-driving car now,
you
Chad.
can, and that's the next one, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
you can get into robo taxis or whatever they're called. What's
right.
the Google one? The way something, I forget, but
This is where I'm a late adopter. I ain't
yeah.
getting in no car with no driver.
Yeah, you can get in a car that doesn't have a driver.
Right,
Okay.
right.
The other one is Airbnb, right? Like we went from,
You're crazy.
Going and you're in your house, then you stay back in the day, like little cottages and inns and whatever. And then it went to hotels. And now we're staying in other people's houses. We're paying them to stay in their houses. And you're living in the same space. It'd be like somebody just walking in your house and living there for a weekend. Like take both of those examples, and 30 years prior, you'd be a nut job if you did that.
Yeah.
Same thing with the credit cards and the internet that we kicked the show off with. You're a nut job.
Yeah.
Now, here we are. You're the nut job if you don't do it.
Yep.
And they're billion-dollar industries or companies. Like it's insane what some of these have grown to be. So, all right, that'll do it. AI, it's going to be interesting. We're going to revisit this one because it's only going to become more and more of a topic. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Make sure you follow us on the socials up here. Like, subscribe, download, hit the bell, share, make a comment, shoot a DM, whatever you got. Zach Jones Loans, Mortgage Dad Chad. Next week, CFPB. That's the topic. Trump says, hit the road, Jack. What does that mean? What did the CFPB really do? What is it like? Help, not help? Who's for it? Who's against it? We'll talk about all that next week. So have a great one. Catch you later.
See ya.